Well, you just wrote a substack about how like your home should never be finished, which I thought was really interesting.
Your home should never be finished. This is why I'm like a little bit skeptical of like the interior designer as a force in design. There are some whom I have a lot of respect for, but generally speaking, it's like, especially in these like 80 tour situations where it's like there's a suggestion of like completion, like this is my house or whatever.
But then you're like entombed in this designer's taste.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of one of the reasons why I don't like those homes that are full of everything and everything's a thing. Because it's like they've kind of like completed their house. Like everything has its place. And I think it's just like, I don't know, people are evolved. Like you should be loose. It's like, I don't know. It's nice to kind of, it's just philosophically and spiritually and emotionally like a better for you to accept that like your evolution is your entire life. And like, you know,
wow,
your house is a
manifestation.
manifestation.
I love very Eastern.
I love that. Yeah. I'm getting into mindfulness. Yeah. I'm going to build a fucking yurt in my backyard.
Yeah. Build a yurt.
Let's go.
And then destroy it. Like what's the shrine in Japan, the Issei Shrine?
Oh no! Or they build it and destroy and build it and destroy
every
it?
20 years. It's been around for over 1,000 years, and every 20 years they completely destroy it and rebuild it. So what is even the real shrine? But I feel like that's to the West is very like a bizarre concept. So because there's no authentic thing.
Because you feel that you know, your home is ever evolving and it's in symbiosis with how you are growing like as a human being. How do you feel about like trends in general then? Like, do you just not subscribe to the notion of them then?
Yeah, I mean, like I think trends are interesting when they kind of first start because it's like, oh, what's happening in society that like everyone's interested in stainless steel or something, you know? And it's like when they first start and it's first starting to happen, then they're interesting, but they immediately get uninteresting because like people are just doing it because it's a trend. Like it's interesting to notice when you're trying to understand like how is it that like simultaneously these people have all kind of like started to do X, Y, or Z.
Yeah. Have you figured it out? Like in the design world where you see something, like Ultra Forgalum era, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, are you ever able to trace back like, oh, I think this began because of this one person who started doing it, this one designer, this one magazine.
No, but I think it's fun to like fake, like, you know, it's like Forescale does this a lot, like where you kind of like reverse engineer. So it's like, oh, why is stainless steel popular? It's like, why do we seek like increased reflection? Or it's like we want to see our like, you know, whatever. It's like you kind of like you figure out like what you ask, like what are the kind of like aesthetic dimensions of this, and then you try and like psychoanalyze. And it's just for fun. Yeah. But I think it's also I think like the most important part of Forescale for me is like a sense of like permissiveness, and that is an example of like being able to intellectualize anything. You know, it's like you take something and it's like you can kind of like make up some aesthetic name for it, or you can like decide for yourself like why this is interesting societally. Like it doesn't need to be fact, but it's like the fact of like putting some thought into it is for me a way of like opening up and just saying like have whatever taste you fucking want. And it's like just
unless it's the bad taste.
Unless it's
I'm announcing it 2025. We're dude maxing.
We're dude maxing. No headboards.
Yeah.
Burning the headboards.
Mattress right on the floor.
Just
like
a bar
navy
of soap.
Blue sheets.
No conditioner.
So like white boucle, did that have a moment? Was that trendy for a bit?
Yeah. That was one of those things where it's like maybe at the very start of like white boucle, I can't really identify at this moment when that started because it feels like now it's been for so long, but maybe at the very start, and it was fast. That was the thing about white boucle, like all of a sudden it was everywhere, so you didn't really have like much of a window to be like, oh, these like 5 interesting people have all done white boucle.
So like what's trending now then?
What have you noticed,
Dan?
What have I noticed?
You've just been stumping around ICFF and Shelter and all of these fairs.
The interesting thing about going to any like trade show or all the the design parties and launches and stuff is that like you can kind of actually write any narrative you want.
Oh, exactly.
Like
that's why those roundups are such bullshit.
Yeah,
you're like,
and you read like a review like, oh, everyone's doing slouchy and goopy, everything's that, and it's like, yeah,
goopy,
and it's like, yeah, there is that, but also like
Gwyneth Paltrow variety of goopy,
you know, droopy, like, droopy and goopy, yeah. languid, flaccid, which like, yeah, I saw a lot of like couches that were kind of like, ooh, you know, like
this is a dune couch count, is that?
No, dune couch is a little more firm, I would say.
Okay.
But you know, just like lamps that are like sagging at the hip. Okay. But then also
like we're all exhausted and now so is our furniture.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And you could write that like, oh my God.
I think I might actually.
In 2025, we're all just
stage capitalism.
Yeah. Yes, you know,
always.
You know, we've run out of energy. You know, it's like that woman in Times Square who's just hand on her hip, you know, that's causing all the controversy, that sculpture. Right. She's like, she's tired. She doesn't have, you know, we're all like that. But then also like there are people like NM3 who are like super hard in Berlin and steel. I could easily find that narrative. So in that sense, I do, the more I'm in it and the more I walk around and see what's going on, it's like, you could choose your own adventure.
Totally.
Really.
Yeah.
I mean, there are maybe meta trends like sustainability is like a perennial.
It used to be.
Yeah.
Well, have you seen that word once this month?
At ICFF, I saw a lot of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, at least gestures to it. Recycled water bottles and stuff like that. And, you know, the Rarefy guys were doing like chairs that were all made by studios that used local wood and like tried to minimize the amount of shipping, like that sort of thing. And they had a great exhibit. But yes, I'm hard pressed to figure out what is like a trend that feels, you know, I don't know, chocolate brown. I feel like a lot of that. Lime wash.
Lots of chocolate brown. Yeah. I mean, but also I feel like you're going to, like, maybe you have a different, my impression of like, let's say like the next generations younger than me is that there's like less of a kind of monoculture. Like I use as an example, as like my case study, Canyon Coffee on Echo Park Avenue in Los Angeles. Very trendy. People like are in full looks like at 7 a.m.
My friend gifted me a tote bag from there as a bit. He's like, you're gonna love this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm known to sit there. And
yeah, of course. I sit there when I want to observe.
John early or something.
Exactly. Zach Woods also there all the time if you're a fan. And but it's like there's not like cohesiveness. Like it's not like in my day it was like the hipster and it was like very identifiable as a style and like everyone had the same interests. And there are the people who were like buying white boucle, you know. They were it's like, and they're obsessed with trend, you know, like millennials love trend. Everyone like avocado toast, like everyone like flat white. And I just don't know if that's like the same.
Yeah.
So I wonder.
Yeah, you'll see someone walking around in like they're looking like they're a rocker in Laurel Canyon from the 70s, and it's like a complete look.
And then their friend is like steampunk, and then their friend is like kind of preppy.
Yes, but they're like doing it to the max.
Yeah.
Or like I feel like in AD something like Paloma El Sosor had that apartment or that townhouse which was like all 1930s rationalist Milan,
which was one of the good ones.
One of the good ones, and it's like to the max, and you're like, oh, I could see how someone could go this direction, but there could also be someone going like super hard at something else that also feels timely. Like I would agree that nothing.
So I feel like like trend.
I guess trend
we're just recycling
will be styles.
Yeah. Okay, that was Middlebrow.